Hi, I'm Frank Crenshaw. Welcome to Frank's modeling page. I'm going to do a quick overview of this Eduard P-51 that I've just recently got the cockpit assembled. The kit is very nice, but there's a few things that might be nice for somebody just stepping into this assembly to know about. The first is the cockpit is generally very good, right out of the box. There isn't a whole lot to say about it that's wrong, or really I don't know that an aftermarket pit would be a huge improvement on it. However, if you look at this detail, you will notice a couple things that really stand out. And the first off is all the intricate detail on the pit walls and on the instrumentation. That is largely the Barracuda decals cockpit and stencil set. I have not actually used any of the Eduard stencils that came in the Profit Pack kit, the metal stencils that Eduard produces. Everything that you see inside this pit at the moment is these Barracuda P-51 Mustang stencils. They are just an amazing thing. The kit seat is very good. I did not really like the Eduard Edge belts. I had some trouble with them in my Spitfire. So what I've done is I'm going to try to show this here. These are the belts that I used. They are by Eduard, but the fabric seat belts, but I believe they're actually made, if you see down there, HGW. So I believe they're HGW belts. So if you find some HGW belts or these Eduard belts, they would work too. But those things are just a jewel. I mean, that's just some incredible detail. You look in this pit and you it just blows your mind away. Actually, I did do some detail though. I 3D printed this hand crank right here. Very hard to see, but mine's a little different than everyone else's. My crank's sitting in the upright position where everybody else's will be molded to the side. And I carved out this handle a little bit to actually make it realistically shaped. I don't know that that's actually going to be visible on the finished model, but I did it anyway. I also added some wires into the bay down there. You can kind of see them, made out of epoxy putty. I wouldn't say those are necessary, but you can see them in the real airplane. And that big open clear canopy of a P-51D, that detail is somewhat visible. So those wires don't hurt, and it's actually somewhat realistic. One thing about this kit, the exhaust stack. The kit supplied exhaust stack on mine was short shot, and you might have heard all about that by various posters on Facebook. But that really wasn't the big problem, in my opinion. My big problem was that when I fixed the exhaust stack and put it in the holder part here, it just really was a mess. There's a giant seam running down the middle, and by the time I fixed that seam, I think I probably would have been going crazy. This is a part on this kit that you are just really going to be better off if you order an aftermarket. So don't be afraid to get yourself an aftermarket exhaust stack for this kit. I know it's a little more money, and that makes some people just groan, but this is probably an important feature. Now, this is the Ultracast Canada set for the Tamiya kit. It doesn't actually fit this kit. I had to sand it and file the part just a little bit to make it fit. But in the end, it actually fits quite nice and is a good replacement for the kit part. But anyway, that's one you're going to want to do. These early Mustangs, before they move the battery, there's a battery vent that's located right here. They have you file that off. You want to make sure you actually do that. There were two ejector pin marks that I wasn't aware of, that I didn't really notice, but they actually came back and I needed to wind up filling them. But there's a pin mark right here on the fuselage side. There's a pin mark right, pardon me, there's a pin mark right here on the fuselage side. Those have to be filled, because if you don't fill that, those are going to be absolutely visible when this model's built. The other thing is this little duct right here. They have you put this in, and it's a nice part, but you can only really fit it to one side when you assemble the kit. And then you join the halves together, which of course leaves a somewhat noticeable gap on the other side. So this gap is going to have to be fixed, and there's just no way around it. I'm just going to use Milliput. That should do it. As you can see, there's a little seam work to do, but nothing serious. A more serious issue, however, and one you will want to be well aware of, the seam that runs along the top of the cowling, it's a V shape, and it just meets at a very tight point up at the top. Now, one of the biggest problems that reviewers of this kit have pointed out is that on a real Mustang, these halves right here, this seam is actually, it's not to be filled in. It would be part of the model. And then you'll need to add fastener detail as well, and possibly rivet detail, but certainly fastener. So if you run a scriber along this line to, to make that line in line with the other lines, panel lines, because right now it's really not, that's going to open the seam up, and there's a giant wedge right there. This seam will have to be reinforced, heavily reinforced, and filled, so that when you scribe down here, it doesn't pull this fuselage in half, because if it does that, that'll be a big problem. Anyway, I don't really have any problems with the Eduard kit so far. Kind of a unique thing they do is the tail wheel bay is all on one piece and just drops in during assembly. There's some seams in it, but I'm not going to fill seams in a tail wheel bay. If IPMS is going to ding me for seams in my tail wheel bay, I'm just not going to place in the contest. But anyway, that's what I found so far. This is a really wonderful little kit. Moving on now to do some other work, and as I find things, I'll let everyone know. Thanks for watching.